Stamp Gang? This is Sade or Sade No Days Off. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, hey, welcome to the channel. Here we talk about travel and lifestyle, particularly self-care and wellness. So since you're here, you might as well hit that subscribe button down there. I don't know where it is, but it's down here. And also turn on the notification bell so you know every time I post. And I post every week at the end of the week. All right, this week we're talking about glitch fares, okay? Virgin Atlantic or Virgin Australian Airlines had a little hiccup, and it was advertised on one of the many flight deal websites as a sale, an intense sale from Dallas to Melbourne, Australia for $167. What? That is ridiculous. It cost at least a stack, $1,000 to get from this part of the US, from Texas over to Australia. So you have to know, I was in the car when this happened, that I was driving to see my friend Dory to go work out, and at the stoplights I was trying to figure these numbers out. I was out here just trying to make it work, trying to find the dates, trying to make this thing happen. And in that whole experience, this is not my first time dealing with error fares or glitch fares as they're called. So I wanted to take some time to share with you how you too can be prepared to catch one of these extremely good travel deals. So if you don't know, a glitch fare or an error fare is pretty much a issue in an airline system, and what it does, it will drive down the price of plane fares, particularly international plane fares, and this can be a great opportunity to catch a cheap flight somewhere. I got one in March from Houston to Beijing for about $300, which is fantastic. So a lot of times the cheaper flights go out of the hubs, and that would be like LAX, Chicago, out of the New York airport, sometimes out of Atlanta and DC. So there are places around the country that are major hubs for international travel. Like sometimes you'll notice if you have a layover within the United States, it might be in one of these bigger cities. So a lot of times flight deals will come out of those, but to find one that comes out of Houston that goes that far is remarkable, or out of Dallas that goes that far is kind of remarkable. You need to be prepared. If you are prepared, you don't have to get prepared. You know, the saying nowadays is, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And that is so true, because these things happen fast. You never know when they're going to come up, and when they do, you don't want to be scrounging to see if it is financially feasible for you to go on and grab this airfare. You don't want to be trying to find somebody to go with you and not know these things. So you have to, like, especially financially, stay prepared. My advice is to like have $400 or $500 just set aside for that random trip that might come up because you found a good flight for it. And sometimes you have to save up some money to get there. Like maybe you'll get lucky and you'll find, you know, a $166 flight from Boston or New York to the Philippines, which happened last year, and I missed that one, and I was so mad I missed that one. But yes, if you are prepared and you have your points in order, then you will be miles ahead when it's time to make that decision, or when that airfare drops. Second, do not, under any circumstances, hear me when I say this, do not call the airline, because as soon as you call the airline, that tips them off that there's a glitch in the system, and within minutes they will pull that deal, and you don't want to be that person that everybody's looking at crazy because you decided that you were going to call the airline and ask a few more questions. Like, don't do it, because you know you already don't have a lot of time when it comes to airfares before the airline will figure out that there is something wrong. Especially when like a whole bunch of people are now buying plane tickets to this certain city out of this certain place for these dates. You know, don't call them, because that gives us more time to work. That gives you more time to work to make sure that everything lines up and you can get your ticket. You have to be quick. That's my third tip. You got to be quick. You might have maybe an hour, solid hour, maybe two, to get on an airfare, because you know there are groups and flight websites and things like that that post when there are airfares. Like I use, you know, Travel Pirates, or you know, Airfare Spot, things like that. There are, as soon as these websites get a hold of an airfare, you know, there are other people like you and me that are looking for these deals. So when it gets out to multiple websites, you know, it's gonna be minutes, probably 15-20 minutes before the whole, you know, link or the deal is dead. So you don't want to be spending that time hesitating like I did. So with the Australia glitch fair, I definitely hesitated because I wasn't sure whether, you know, Australia was high enough up on my list for me to jump on this one now, especially since, you know, y'all know I'm trying to get these 30 countries, but I have a bucket list per se. Like there's some things I want to see first. So, but also you don't want to be waiting for your friend. You text them like, hey girl, it's time to move, we got to do this, you going or you're not, and you're waiting for them to answer, or you know, you're like, oh, I'll check it, I'll try to get it next week when I get paid. You don't have time for that. So you want to make sure that you have the quick fingers. You got to be on top of it. And the early bird definitely catches the worm in this case. So when you are quick and you are prepared, you will be rewarded handsomely. You also should think about playing with departure cities and dates. A lot of times if you see an airfare, it'll give you an example of dates that are working, but you also might want to play around with dates that fit your schedule and things like that, because you never know, the glitch fare might apply to the dates you're looking for, and sometimes you can get it out of a different departure city. For the Beijing airfare that I took part in earlier this year, there was also an airfare from, you know, Chicago and LAX and somewhere else to Johannesburg for $294. This was the same day, same glitch fare. So I actually ended up playing with the dates and then say just out of curiosity putting in Houston, and it applied to Houston. So I was just like, oh, gotta move, gotta move. So I was able to fly out of the city that I normally travel out of and not have to connect at one of the bigger hubs, which is great because that means that's money in my budget that I save from not having to get an extra plane ticket. So when one of these fares comes up, you know, look at the dates, but also play with dates to see whether this fits within your days off or your time off for work or school schedule, whatever the case may be, and also check and see if it will work for your departure city, because you never know, the glitch fare gods might smile down on you and everything will just pan out and you can go on and snap them tickets up and call it a day. Another thing you might want to do is to try to book your plane ticket through the airline's website. So sometimes, most times, airfares come up, they are booked through a third-party website like an Orbitz, an Expedia, Priceline, and also some of these one-off ones that, you know, are kind of sketchy, and I normally don't book through ones that I don't trust because funky stuff happens and you don't want to get caught up like that. But you might, if it's going through a Priceline or something like that, you might also want to look on the website for the airline, and when you do that, it may be a little bit higher, but you can book through the airline, and usually if they are starting to cancel the flights from a third-party site, they will more than likely honor tickets that were purchased through their website if they're canceling. So that's something you might want to look into doing. That being said, because you never know with glitch fares, and even on websites they tell you don't immediately book accommodations, because glitch fares are kind of like Russian roulette. You shoot your shot and you get your confirmation, but after the link goes dead, the airline might choose to cancel the flights that were booked on this airfare. Sometimes they let you live your life, sometimes they don't. So you don't want to say, oh, I got this fare, you know, we're going to Melbourne, and let me go on and start looking up my tours and all this stuff, and you put all this money in, and then a few weeks later, you know, you get that dreaded email or the dreaded phone call that says, hey, you know, the airline's not going to honor this, we're going to refund your money and cancel your ticket. So you don't want to be stuck out. My advice is to wait till a little bit closer to your departure date to make sure that everything is sound, that they don't cancel your ticket, all of those things, because you really don't want to get stuck out. And then finally, just go on and book it, man. We have a saying in Nomadness Tribe, which I'm a part of, is you just book that ish. Like, if it comes up and you think you can make it happen, book it. Don't be afraid of, this is someplace I haven't been, I didn't know I wanted to go to this place. You know, there's been a flight deal that has continued to come up from New York to Martinique for like $140, and I keep swearing that when it comes up, I'm gonna get it. I had no plans on going to Martinique, but it sounds amazing, and I looked it up and I was like, oh, this is gorgeous. So, you know, be open to the possibilities for your travel experience. So go on and just make it happen. If you see one of these things and you have your ducats in place and it's not going to put you into financial straits, do it. Even if it's by yourself. If none of the homies is ready but you ready, go on and go and have a good time. I hope this is helpful. As always, friends, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend about my channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.